Story: The Unwelcoming to Ghana. You don't invite someone to a dirty house. Chapter 1 of my book about the hatred I found when I moved to Ghana by our right mirrors, published 5 months ago, updated less than a minute ago. 15 minutes read, quick edit, comment, like, share, created by the author using my photos of Ghana. Thursday, the 24th of August 2023 by Tibia Boyj Mama Igbo. That's what I will call her. Would awake around 5 a.m. I think, because morning wasn't my thing after all. There was no reason for me to awake so damn early. They claimed mornings were cooler. As a person from Philly, no they weren't. Just earlier hours. For the heat to beat on you. Santa Maria Hilltop. That's the place I started out in Ghana. It was in Greater Accra. I lived with Igbo, Igbo meaning Tuesday born, his family, mother, 2 sisters, and there were 7 children. Not all lived there full time. Let's say this isn't the parts you people would rush to when you arrive in Ghana. With your teary eyes, ready to go flock to see where they sold you off for trinkets and guns. Yes, we were sold off, it is a fact, and there is nothing that can change it. Exchanged for items, the tribes fought over land, and in Ghana they still are, but you won't hear much about the Borku fighting that's claiming many lives to this day, 2024. So many filled with anger from the America that didn't love you. Sick of racism, just as I was when I said I'm out of that place. Ghana wasn't my first choice, and I wish it wasn't my second either. I moved from Kenya to Ghana. Why, I really don't know. I knew that Ghanaians looked like us, Black Americans, and I thought they'd be more like us, but in many ways they are not. Very much not. They just looked like us. I will outline how everyone that saw me claimed I was white, gave hateful looks, words, and even threats on my life. Which was very odd considering they would roll over for actual white people. Outside, I hear the whisking of the broom Mama Igbo used to clean the front of the house. We would call it a compound, but here in these parts they hadn't built a wall or fence around the house. At times when I'm outside I think they wish they had. People would come to the house often, but when I was outside, they walked up for no reason, asking silly little things to either engage Mama or ask about me in Twi. Mama taught her grandbabies to sweep the front of the house every morning. You don't want people to pop up on you with a dirty house. That's what Mina said Mama taught her. So every morning they swept. Don't mind the fact that they done swept that front last night. Ghana is filthy. Literally and figuratively. They've been shitting in the gutters, oceans, beaches have items in the sand. Don't dare go barefoot. It's so much ugliness. I asked about a few things. Wait, most people, especially the men, hate that, asking questions. The children taught me they weren't allowed to, but I've asked questions to understand how ought to do proper. I've been ignored more in my life than ever before in Ghana. One man said, "You're very disrespectful." I was shocked. I wasn't rude or anything towards him. I used the airport clinic for my COVID-19 testing, the Bolt, like Uber but cheaper. Driver and I had made an agreement. He was just gonna sit and wait for me. I would have paid him a set amount, under the table, you know. When the security guard said no parking here, he told my driver you can't park here. I said, well, I've been here before and this is the parking area. Where should we park? Also, why are all these other cars parked here? That's it. That when he brings his face to the back seat window, where I was seated, he told me I was disrespectful. He then said he was gonna make all these parked cars move. How though, I don't know. People weren't in them. There was drawn out lines on the ground. They were parked there and in either of the building that were there. This was Ghana. Hatred for no reason. Bullying for no reason. Author's photos from outside of airport clinic. The taller man was the one WHO called Emmy disrespectful. The shorter one came to threaten the driver. He called another man over. They begin to threaten the driver. They turned to speaking in Twi after the first threat was thrown out their mouths. At this point I had been in Ghana for 3.5 months. This was Ghana. You don't ask questions, you just don't, or it's a fight. A long screaming match. That's all they do is scream at each another. But you are rude if you raise your voice. Here I lay down my 2 years living in Ghana. I did leave the country to get more items for 4 weeks. I left again for a visit as my daughter was going to move out of the apartment I had lived in for 20 years. I went to close up my life and obtain more money to move far away from Accra, Ghana. When I arrived I took tests, saw doctors. I had a doctor in Ghana, but I was due for a mammogram. Since I had insurance in the US I used it. I was diagnosed with an early stage of breast cancer. I underwent 2 surgeries. radiation. While in Ghana I was being robbed. I will outline events in a journal style for you because I wrote about my time in Ghana. It was the worst time of my life, with few breakout moments of peace. My light skin was always the focus. I was called Yovu, dirty tricky dog, white person in New or Voltarian, as in the Volta region of Ghana. I found peace there. The Voltarians I encountered most were the kindest to me. It's also clean there. They cleaned their house, but don't think light skin is black skin. I have already caught so much hate from Ghanaians for my writings on Ghana. I have always had America, they call it the States or USA, thrown in my face too. If you read this, know this as an American, you know damn well the American people or government is not by any means asking anyone to immigrate there, nor are we ever calling ourselves welcoming and the politest people. Ghana is, though, begging for tourism, investments and claiming to be welcoming to the diaspora. They will say they're the politest people in Africa too. Nonsense. How can you claim that without even going all over Africa? Also, not my skin color was everyone's focus. I think racism and colorism is worse in Ghana than the US. Just because they aren't killing you in Ghana, they killed my entire soul and I don't know how to bring it back. I lost all I had and gave up my life to move there. When I call it racism and not colorism, they didn't for one moment think I was a black person. I say they, but there were only a handful that addressed me as a black person. Even after talking to them, they would always slip in, well, you as a white. This was confusing to me. The few that claimed they knew I was black would throw in calling me white. I don't get Ghana. The shit they said about darker Ghanaians, Blackie and Darky, one Ghanaian saying Kenyans were all dark, black and ugly. I will never forget that one there. Had I known colorism and xenophobia is rampant in Ghana, I wouldn't have given my life away to relocate, not to mention dreadlocks, discrimination. It's like White America Sunday, the 27th of November 2022 by TB Abwoj. The insults hurled at dark-skinned people exists in Ghana. The calling people ugly for being dark is commonplace. I don't blame those who skin bleach in West African countries. I don't blame them at all. They're trying to escape being bullied incessantly, especially from other Ghanaians. Because baby, it is constant and brutal, the street harassment in Ghana. A Ghanaian man asked why I write about my bad experiences and I am as honest as can be. I am angry. I'm damned angry. So angry I could cry, and I do cry. Black to Africans don't do their research. They don't travel alone to African countries and see what life is like. They see the tourism and the famous hotels, beaches and built-up places, because I know that is all I saw before going. Because of my marriage and relationships, I heard things that many won't hear or see on their tour-guided visits, or learn the political shit that has been choking some of these countries either. It is all fun and games. I'm gonna take my American dollars and live big, because for $100 to $150 a month full time, I can have a maid. When you're knowing damn well in America that would get you a cleaning lady come to your home once. Race in America is too much and I'm tired of it, only to find out that Ghanaians gonna beat me over the head every day with race. Ghanaians are going to insult me and call me white all day long, not to mention fat mommy rasta, man, biggie, a bolo short form of fat in twee. Then when I complain, call me crazy for saying I'm not white, I'm black. Darker-skinned American man said he didn't care. See, now you know how dark-skinned women been getting treated all their lives. When I added that a Ghanaian said my Kenyan husband and all Kenyans are all dark, black and ugly, not to mention they use darky and blackie as names to call people whom are darker in skin color, many whom don't like it. He ignored that part. In Ghana you can't win. So what do they want? If you're light skin you can't win, and if you're dark skin you are called ugly. Author's photo: young man from my road in East Legon, Accra, Ghana. Author's photo: young man from my road in East Legon, Accra, Ghana. When I met and wrote about the young man, named Innocence, and how he told me he was bullied, not the word he used. He said people make fun and abuse him for having lighter skin. He's the only light person in his family, but other siblings have his reddish hair. Colorism seems to be on the rise again in the United States, but Americans know when a person is black that they can be a range of complexions. I had to mention this because whenever you write or speak on something done in Ghana or Africa, they throw America in your face. When you live in Africa, America isn't your concern. When I wrote about the dark-skinned, black American father who said that black women who weren't mixed are unattractive to him, the first comment was from a Ghanaian man. He seemed to think it was alright for this father of dark-skinned women to be anti-black and slander black women who weren't mixed race. If this isn't irony that this Ghanaian man came to my comments on Medium supporting dark-skin slander. I showed this screenshot to a few Ghanaians. When I wrote about a lighter-skinned man, possibly Lebanese, not sure, but he holds citizenship in Ghana. Those Ghanaians that saw his Twitter post said, "That's what he gets for misbehaving." Screenshot from Twitter. Where is this man misbehaving? Instead of realizing that they're colorists and xenophobic, several Ghanaians said that it was his fault. Then took to me for reposting his comment and said that Africans are mistreated by blacks in America, for they can do this in Ghana. Yet white people mistreat blacks and Africans too, so why are they wanting to look like them? Why are they more gracious and accepting to them in Ghana? That is the kicker. That right there. I would watch white folks move around Ghana. Why are they not screaming and pointing white man woman at them? Why aren't they hanging out the trotro to scream as this white man walks down the road? But when I do it, it's like I'm a sideshow attraction. I wish every day that someone would have warned me. I had people that I spoke to living in Ghana, and never once did they admit this to me. Never once did they hint being colorists until I arrived in Ghana. Author's photo in the Voltao. Region Ho. Ghana. I didn't in all my research read about colorism in Ghana, nor did anyone tell me what I would be facing would be daily and constant. No one prepared me for people wanting to befriend me only because of my skin complexion either. My printer, the man who made my Lacey's House t-shirts in Ghana, says not only are black Americans not black, but that I should be flattered to be called white. He said I should be flattered because Ghanaians admire white people, even though they abuse me verbally for weight, dreadlocks and tattoos. Not one article preparing for the hatred that other Africans face in Ghana either. People want to see your passport and overcharge them. Ghanaians believe that their behavior is the best in Africa, especially West African nations. Sound familiar? It should, because it is a page out of American white supremacy. I lost people in my life in Ghana because I would argue with them for hatred of Nigerians. I would question them, push them to understanding that they aren't better, but Ghanaians are told by their own government that they're better. Screenshot from Facebook housing advert. More recent screenshot from Ghana housing advert. The Ghana government under Akufo Addo continues to push the stance that Ghana is the most peaceful country in West Africa. When he pushes that narrative, he's punishing his West African neighbors, he's villainizing them. How can they control terrorism that is attacking several West African countries, especially along the Sahel? Ghanaians then say Nigerians don't enjoy peace. I've heard it more times than I care to imagine. I am not Nigerian, but I will say with 100% surety that Nigerians enjoy, want and love peace. None of the now 219 million Nigerians are waking up and praying for terrorism in their country. Oh, I'm 34% Nigerian and 28% Cameroonian, so I will write about the time Ghanaians destroyed Nigeria's consulate, when immigration closed down Nigerian shops in Ghana, or that Nigerians, South Africans and a man from Togo said they are denied housing and overcharged. There is severe tribal fighting and terrorism in the upper eastern part of Ghana. They don't consider that dispute terrorism. Ghanaians don't consider that as being an issue. People can't freely travel to all areas of Ghana without terrorism, or passing through areas involved in tribal fighting over farmland. Kevin Taylor, a Ghanaian living in America, accused Akufo Addo of creating a militia to start violence within Ghana. Ghana's government replied by simply saying, "This isn't true. The United States has slander laws and Taylor could be sued by Akufo Addo's government. Why haven't they filed suit against him? I mean, surely this would give them money, teach Taylor a lesson. If they can prove his stories are false." Fighting the effects of colorism in Ghana, under duty. Colorism is discrimination based on skin color or skin shade. Dominate groups can prefer people with lighter skin shades, and the preference can also occur within communities of color. In some cultures, the preference for lighter skin causes people to use harmful skin bleaching creams in order to lighten their own tone. Mwadi Coakley and a team of students and faculty across campus will investigate how businesses can stop the promotion of conventional fair and lovely beauty standards to young women of color. The team will conduct a qualitative study about the perceptions of skin bleaching and use their findings to create a campaign that educates people on the dangers of the practice. Source: Education UV Texas. With all this hatred in Ghana, their government is pushing hard for Black Americans to relocate to Ghana. Ghanaians refuse to believe, admit or tell you that their country is filled with hatred and division. You will find a handful that will tell you how badly people who are different in Ghana are treated. They are very hateful towards the smaller tribes, as well as other West Africans. Please note I left out that I have cases against 5-6 different Ghanaians for sexual assault. He's a police officer, the head of a police station. My ex Ernest Addo hit me along with other things. Immigration officer, scam, John Henaku. Stole my identity, Annie Kitcher. Stole my cell phone. House owner scamming many foreigners, Mohammed H. Nata and more. Police did nothing but try to make Ernest Addo pay me money for stealing from my home, while I was in the US with breast cancer. Everything else they've done nothing, even with recordings from police officer and admission from immigration officer. Identity struggles are commonplace globally, but these questions are rarely asked of immigrants' children in Africa. While dark skin can denote acceptance and a sense of belonging to the continent, light skin can raise questions of authenticity and a conflicted sense of identity. Gloria, a pseudonym, is a young woman of mixed heritage, who we spoke to on a Tuesday morning in July 2020 over Zoom. Gloria lives in Gaborone, Botswana, while we, the researchers, live in Accra, Ghana. The interview was conducted as part of our ongoing research into the identity formation of children of immigrants on the African continent. I am a 27-year-old Botswana citizen from Botswana. I was born here, but I've got family from around. My mum, for example, was born in Malawi and only came to Botswana when she was 5. My grandmother, South African, and she came to